welcome to Kathy's Corner. My name is Kathy Holt. I'm a partner and trainer with Stewardship Resources, LLC. I am also an authorized teaching consultant and trainer with PowerChurch Plus accounting software. During my last video, we went over how to prepare the fourth quarter 941 federal payroll tax return from PowerChurch Plus software. As promised, in this video, we're going to focus on preparing the W-2 and W-3 forms. And just as we went over some checks and balances and review steps for the quarterly 941 returns, I will also show you some important check and balance steps that you work on as you prepare the W-2 and W-3 forms. So let's start with the check and balance steps before you print the W-2 forms from PowerChurch. Sometimes knowing what the end result will be helps you to know what to focus on as you walk through the process of whatever project you're working on. So today, of course, the project is preparing the W-2 and W-3 forms. So in this case, the end result is that the 941 returns that were submitted for the first, second, third, and fourth quarters for the year must tie out to the amounts that's going to show on the W-3 form. And if they do not tie out, the church will receive a letter from the Social Security Administration that's going to instruct you to correct the errors. And this could mean that you will need to file amended 941 returns, and or you may need to file amended W-2 forms. And most likely, there's going to be penalties and interest involved. So it's much easier to get it right the first time. So making sure that each quarterly 941 return is correct is really the first step that is important in preparing the W-2 and W-3 forms. So this step is one that you should be doing as you prepare each quarterly return during the year. And let me give you a very helpful tip here. Do not submit the fourth quarter 941 until you make sure the first through the fourth quarter 941s will tie out to the W-3 form. Now, in my last video, preparing the fourth quarter federal 941 in PowerChurch Plus, we covered information on how to be sure the quarterly 941 returns are correct. So if you missed that video, there is a link to it and other helpful resources. You'll find those in the resource section of this video. Okay. So let's get started on specific checks and balances and review steps for preparing the W-2 and W-3 forms. Now, we already talked about the first step being having correct first through fourth quarter 941 returns. So the second step is going to print the payroll item summary report for the year from the payroll module. Now, here is the path. To get to this screen, you're going to go to Accounting, Payroll, Reports Payroll, and from there, you're going to go to Item Summary, and from there, you're going to choose the dates for the year, and you want to make sure and print that, check that box that says Print Summary by Employee. This will give you a list of the annual totals for every payroll item that was used in processing payroll for the year for each employee. And in the last video, we went over the importance of knowing how every payroll item should flow to the 941 return. For the W-2s, it's important for you to know how each payroll item should flow to the W-2 forms. Here is an example of the payroll item summary report for the year for each employee. So step number 3 now is that you need to know if each item on this report will add or subtract from federal, state, and local wages, add to or subtract from Social Security and Medicare wages. Should any of these amount items appear in box 12 with a specific code and what are the amounts needed there? Are any check marks required in box 13? And should any amounts flow to box 14? I will be showing you a picture of a W-2 form here in a moment. So let's move on to step number 4. And step number 4 is you're going to need calculation totals for the total federal wages, total state and local wages, total Social Security and Medicare wages, total federal taxes withheld, total Social Security taxes withheld, total Medicare taxes withheld, totals for the amounts that will show in box 12 or box 14, and state and local taxes that were withheld. Okay, now that we've gone over the homework that needs to be done before printing the W-2 and W-3 forms, let's move on with step number 5 on how you print these forms from PowerChurch. So here is the path on how you get to the screen, and you want to make sure that the year is correct. Notice where it says that only 2024 forms and e-filing are supported. That means that a maintenance release is needed. Now, PowerChurch usually does not have it available until in January, and in this case, January 2026. For the pay groups, it's fine to leave all the boxes checked because PowerChurch will only print W-2s for the employees who had payroll history for the year. Make sure the employer federal ID number, address, contact person, and contact information are all correct. And again, it's fine to leave all the employees checked. The only W-2s that will show are for the employees that had payroll history for the year. The default for truncating the Social Security numbers is the top one. I suggest using the bottom one as shown. Here's an example of a pastor's W-2 form. Notice that there are no Social Security wage amounts showing or Social Security Medicare tax amounts showing on their W-2. And that is because pastors are dual status employees who only have federal and state wages with the church. They are self-employed for Social Security and Medicare wage purposes. In the resource section, there are links to a video series that I did on church and clergy payroll. So if you need more explanation on this, please feel free to check out those videos. Moving forward, you will be reviewing the amounts on each W-2 and make sure that they are correct. So let's start out with reviewing the amounts on the pastor's W-2. So you are going to compare the totals that you calculated from the payroll item summary report that we talked about in step 4. And if they do not match, do not go forward until the needed corrections are made. Generally, the federal wages, state, and local wages are the same amount. Are all the amounts in the correct boxes? Do you have the correct codes for box 12, correct check marks if needed in box 13? Do you have the needed amount in box 14? Again, if something is not correct, do not go further until the corrections are made. Now, when you're done reviewing each W-2 form, you will click the next box at the top of the page to go to the next W-2 form. So here is an example of a lay employee's W-2 form. Notice that there are Social Security wage amounts and Social Security and Medicare tax amounts showing. And again, you're going to compare the totals that you calculated from the payroll item summary report from step 4. And again, if they do not match, Do not go further until the needed corrections have been made. And once again, generally the federal wages and state wages, local wages are the same amount. Are all the amounts in the correct boxes? Correct codes for box 12, correct check marks if needed in box 13, correct amounts in box 14. Make sure that this all matches up where amounts should be and they've got the correct amount. Okay, so you'll click next at the top of the page to keep going to the next W-2 form. When you're done reviewing all the W-2 forms, you're going to click the next at the bottom to review the W-3 form. And here is an example of a W-3 form. The W-3 form is a transmittal for all the W-2 forms. The totals from the W-2 forms automatically flow to the W-3 form. So you cannot change any amount on this form. The one change that you may need to make is to change the kind of employer to a 501c non-government. Okay, so the checks and balances for the W-3 form is you are going to have your first, second, third, and fourth quarter 941 returns that you've already submitted, copies of those. And what you're going to do is you're going to calculate totals from those and make sure it matches up to the W-3 form. So you're going to have the total federal wages from your 941 forms, and it should match what's in box 1 of the W-3 form. You're going to have the total federal taxes withheld from all 4 of the 941 returns, and that total should match what's in box 2 of your W-3 form. You're going to have your total Social Security wages from your 941 forms, and that should match what's in box 3 of the W-3 form. The total Medicare wages from the 941 return should match the amount that's in box 5 of the W-3 form. Now you're going to have one exception here with the taxes, the Social Security and Medicare taxes. And that's because on the 941 returns, the amount showing for those taxes on those returns is for the amount withheld from the employee's paychecks plus the employer match. So what you're going to do for that is when you get the total from the 941 forms for your Social Security taxes, you're going to divide it by 2. And that should be within pennies of the amount showing in box 4 of the W-3. Same thing with your Medicare taxes on the 941 forms. You're going to add it all together, divide it by 2, should be within pennies of the amount showing in box 6. And then this is just stating here that the Social Security and Medicare tax totals can be a few cents off, and that's due to rounding. Every other amount on the W-3 should be exact. So once again, if the totals do not match, do not go forward until you've made the corrections. And it most likely means that one or more of the 941 returns is incorrect. So at this point in the game, corrections might include that a payroll setup may be incorrect or used improperly, and that you will need to make any corrections there. And again, at this point, those corrections might mean an amended 941 return. And if that is the case, you would need to prepare a Form 941X for any returns that have been submitted. That's why you don't submit the fourth quarter 941 till you make sure it's all going to tie out. But if you find out that something was wrong for the first, second, or third quarter, you're going to need to file an amended. You do not send the IRS another 941 return that's been prepared from PowerChurch after the corrections are made. PowerChurch, you have to use the 941X. PowerChurch does not prepare the 941X. Okay, we are going to get back to the final step number 6 of printing and e-filing the W-2 and W-3 forms. But first, let me just jump in here and say that knowledge is the key. Okay, the key to what? So I think at this point, you are understanding why it is so important to understand church and clergy payroll and to know how to set up and use the payroll module properly. To know how to tell if the quarterly 941 returns are correct, and to know how to tell if the W-2 and W-3 forms are correct. Now, you've already seen during this process that the calculations we have gone over do not match. You are not to go further until you determine why they don't match and make any of the needed corrections. My question to you now is, do you need help obtaining that knowledge? Are you unsure if your payroll module is set up properly? Do you think, or do you know that there are errors, but you're not sure how to fix them? So who can you call for help? You are most welcome to call us here at Stewardship Resources, LLC. And why would you want to call us? Because we are specialists in church and clergy payroll and the related IRS rules. We can help you with any needed payroll corrections in your program, and we can also help you with any needed amended payroll returns. We also specialize in PowerChurch Plus software. We can help you with any setup. We can help you with any cleanup. We can help you with any training on how to use the program. And we can help you with those random, how do I do this or how do I fix that questions. Now, I know that sounded a lot like a commercial, but I just wanted you to know that we're here to help you if and when you need us. Okay, so let's continue with step number 6, and that is going to be how to print and e-file those W-2 and W-3 forms. You can print the forms on plain paper or pre-printed forms. Do you see how the print all W-2, W-3 forms and file electronically buttons are grayed out? Once again, this is because at the time of recording this video, PowerChurch had not yet released the maintenance release to add the 2025 W-2 and W-3 forms. And that maintenance release generally is available in early January. Now, normally the W-2 and W-3 forms are due by January 31st. However, January 31st falls on a Saturday in 2026, so they are due the next business day, which in 2026 happens to be February the 2nd. So that's when they are due, and that gives you an extra 3 days to get your work done. Now you can print or e-file the W-2 and W-3 forms directly from PowerChurch. The one thing I want to remind you that's very, very important is that you save a copy. And the reason is because you cannot obtain a copy from the Social Security Administration at a later date. In 2024, the IRS issued the rule that if you have 10 or more forms to file for the year, now 10 or more forms includes W-2 forms and 1099 forms. So the total of both, if they're 10 or more, you are required to file them electronically. Now, if you decide, well, I'm just going to mail them out like I always have before, the rules say that if you try to mail in 10 or more forms, they're going to count them as not being filed. Now, if you happen to have less than 10 forms and you would like to mail them in to the IRS, or well, you mail them into the Social Security Administration, that's perfectly fine. As long as you have less than 10 total W-2 and 1099 forms. Now, if you decide that you do want to e-file these forms, you just simply click on the File Electronically button. That will take you to another website, and there's no special pen needed for e-filing the W-2 or W-3 forms. Now, when you click on that File Electronically button and it takes you to another website, it's going to look like this. And if you have not already set up to file electronically, you have the option here to create an account. You just simply click on the Create Account, fill out the forms, submit those forms, and your account is created. Now, I do not have an e-filing account where I can show you the entire e-filing process. However, I can tell you that once you are in the e-filing account and get logged in, that you will review the forms in progress. And in this case, of course, that's the W-2 and W-3 forms. You will choose the e-filing bundle desired. You will see the cart list. You will pay for the e-filing service with a credit card. And then your W-2 and W-3 forms will be e-filed. Now you're going to know that they've been e-filed because you're going to see a congratulations page. And from that congratulations page, you want to print the congratulation page. You want to print the W-2 and W-3 forms as a copy for your records so you can print them, save them to a PDF, or do both, whichever is your preference. Just make sure you have a copy. And you want to print the receipt. During our time together today, I hope that you have learned why it is so important to understand the IRS rules related to the payroll for your church, to know that your payroll items have been set up correctly and that you are using them correctly, to know how those payroll items should flow to the 941 payroll tax returns, as well as the W-2 and W-3 forms, and to know how important review and check and balance steps are when preparing the W-2 and W-3 forms. If you watch the Kathy's Korner video on preparing the quarterly 941 returns from PowerChurch, hopefully you are even more aware of why it is so important that those returns are completed correctly throughout the year. January is generally already a very full month for church bookkeepers, so save yourself from having to add payroll cleanup and amending prior quarterly 941 returns to your already full to-do list. As a reminder, don't forget to check out the helpful resources in the resource section of this video. It has been a pleasure to share this information with you today. As always, if you have any questions or need help, please contact me at the phone number at the email shown below. Please like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, God bless you and have a fantastic day.